Tarik, we talked a little bit, it was mentioned there briefly by Al, but a trade that was made, albeit a little bit of a smaller, but not really. Justin Sourdif coming from the Florida Panthers, primarily playing for the Charlotte Checkers, going all the way to the Calder Cup Finals this year, 5'11", 180 out of Richmond, B.C., but a guy who had a really nice postseason for Charlotte, and the hope is that in an organization where there's not a lot of room for him to find his way to the NHL, maybe that's exactly what he can find with the Capitals.
Yeah, room or cap space. Now, he's a restricted free agent, so the Capitals still have to get him under contract, but he doesn't have a whole lot of leverage, so he'll probably come in around $1 million. From what I'm told, the Caps are actually expecting Sourdif to be on the Washington roster next year. We're not talking about a player who's going to be in Hershey and have to work his way up. They think that he's got NHL bones right now and will be on the team. He can play center. He can play right wing. We know that they only have 2 right wings really under contract right now with Ryan Leonard and Tom Wilson, so they're going to need some help on that side. Look, he really had a breakout performance in the AHL playoffs. And I think that caught a lot of teams' eyes. Now, I know there's probably people out there who are going, man, how did you give up a second-round pick and another pick to get a guy who has 4 NHL games? Well, look, here's what I would say. I feel like the Capitals' pro-scouting staff, after what they've done over the past 10 years or so, they've earned the benefit of the doubt. If they were willing to give up a second round and a 6th rounder the year after to go get a player who's only got 4 NHL games on his resume, they really believe this is a player who has a lot of untapped potential and will be able to help this team in the short term.
And going back to what happened this time a year ago, where all of the changes that were made to the roster swinging big, right, with Pierre-Luc Dubois and bringing in Logan Thompson to team up with and Jacob Chychrun and the trade with Ottawa that sent Nick Jensen out. There were a lot of moves that were made. They have been very good, and the track record in recent times, excellent, in fact, of being able to say, look, that's what we need. Absolutely. And they said this is something that they need.
Yeah, and I went back and I watched some of the interviews with Sourdif over the past few years, and I know Caps fans are going to love to hear this. Every time he's asked who he patterns his game after, TJ Oshie. He's like, there you go. I'm not the biggest guy, but I want to win all of my board battles. I want to be kind of abrasive, hard to play against, and I want to make sure I put my really good quick release shot to use and score some goals.
Well, Al, those are all things we like to hear, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the word on him is he plays with a lot of speed and pace, something the Caps have been very open on, that they've got to get faster. They've got to get quicker. He can kill penalties. You know, you talk about that Florida organization. Remember, Mackie Samasevich had 15 goals for them this year. Did you hear him or see him at all during the postseason? Couldn't get in because of how deep that Florida team is. So, sometimes when you get somebody from another organization that has a guy that's buried, that deserves NHL time, but because of everybody in front of him can't get it, what's to say that it's not going to work out for you just because he's been blocked by so many other players on a 2-time Stanley Cup champion team? I think this is why you've got to, as you said, Johnny, got to give the Capital Pro scouting staff a little benefit of the doubt because they've watched this guy. And, again, a second-round pick next year could turn out 7 years from now going, wow, I couldn't believe they traded that, but you're trying to win now. And if you had identified somebody at 23 who's NHL ready, as opposed to the guy you're picking next year with that second-round pick that is not going to be ready until, maybe in the, 30, 31, I think that's for a team that wants to make sure they are there again next year as one of the elite teams in the National Hockey League. You do those sorts of things.
I think it also probably, at least it made me wonder, okay, where is Miroshnichenko in this conversation now? It's another right shot winger. What does this mean for Ethan Frank? If you're going out and you're getting a player from another organization and you're giving up a second rounder and a late round pick the following year, that means that you feel like Al said, you need help right now, and maybe you aren't so sure that the guys down in Hershey are ready to step in. It doesn't mean that Miro isn't going to be ready at some point soon. It's just not right now.